Good morning, dear students. Welcome once again. Here we are going to study class 7 history, chapter number 3, the Delhi Sultans. I hope you will be reading seriously in your home, because these online classes will continue and it will go as it is. Okay, so let's begin on with the chapter class 7 history, chapter number 3, the Delhi Sultans. In this chapter we are going to read about those sultans, those kings, those monarchs who have ruled over Delhi. Okay, and what was the condition during 15th and 16th century, we are going to read it on in this chapter. Okay, so let's begin our chapter, the Delhi Sultans, chapter number 3, history of class 7, with the important terms. Let's see the important terms. What are the important terms of this chapter? The first term is your birthright. Bal Gangadhar Tilak has also said, Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it. So there lies the word birthright, right? What is the meaning of birthright? That means privileges or facility, you can say. Privilege means facility. Okay, so the privileges or the facility claimed on account of birth, on the basis of birth. If you have taken birth in a good family, then your responsibilities will be as per according to it. Such is the meaning of birthright. That means facility or the privileges claimed on account of birth. Brahmans, suppose if you are going to take birth in Brahman family, then what is your birthright? To impart education to the students, to become a pandit, a priest is your birthright. People during those era usually consider these things as a birthright. Okay, understand? So birthright means privileges or facility claimed on account of birth. For example, one example has also been given in your history book, that people believed that noble people inherited their rights to govern. Govern means to rule, because they were born in certain families. Nobles were born to rule. These nobles are taking birth to govern, to rule over the country or over a kingdom or in a city or something like that. So people usually think that nobles are taking birth to rule, to govern over somebody. Like Kshatriyas, they were taking birth to fight against each other and to rule, right? In the same way, birthright means privileges or facility claimed on account of birth. Because of birth, your duties, your responsibility will be such and such. So this is the meaning of birthright, right? Gender distinction. Here the word comes gender. Whenever a form comes to you, and if you are writing gender, you have to put male, female, right? So gender is clear distinction, to make a difference in the gender. Okay, so social and biological differences between women and men. So social and biological difference between the men and women. There are two differences, social difference and biological difference. Biological difference means our body structure difference, right? Like women have different body structure, man has different body structure. So biological difference, you understand. Social difference, society has given certain responsibilities based on the sex of a person. Like women can do household works like sweeping, cleaning, washing up of clothes, and men can do office work. They can work as an employer in office or in certain offices or anywhere. Okay, in factories, industries, offices, or in any other place. So this is the meaning of social difference. So social and biological differences between women and men means gender distinction, making a difference in the gender. Okay, on what basis? On the the basis of society and biologically, that is social and biological differences between women and men. Usually these differences are used to make argument that men are superior to women. Why these differences are made? Just because of a simple aim. They always wanted to prove that men are superior to women, men are greater than women. Okay, our society has some psychology like that. We consider, or the whole society, or most of the people in the society, or society dominating people used to consider that men are superior than women. So usually differences are used to make argument, to argue with that men are superior to women. Okay, this is a general statement. Otherwise your definition will be social and biological differences between women and men. Always remember. Now another term is hinterland. Be very careful about this term. The land adjacent to a city or a town. Adjacent means beside. Okay, side by side. So the land adjacent to a city or a port that supply it with goods and services. That means those lands which are adjacent to a city. That means suppose if a city is over here, land is over here. That means side by side. Okay, clear? So the land adjacent to city or port that supply it with goods and services. That means if land is adjacent to a city, that means city provides this land with goods and services. If some goods are required, this city will provide this land. Okay, everything. So the land which is side by side, that land which is beside to a city or a port that supply it with goods and services. Clear? I don't think there will be any problem because these are simple terms and these are made very effectively. In the book also the same definition will be given. Suppose if there is 1 to 2 words get shuffled out or something like that, it will be okay because the meaning remains the same. Okay, so the land adjacent to a city or a port that supply it with goods and services are known as hinterlands. Whenever the question is being asked, what do you mean by the term hinterland? What is hinterland? The land which is adjacent to a city or a port which provides them goods and services is known as hinterland. Clear? Now garrison town. If the question comes, what do you mean by the term garrison town? You might have learned one more term, garrison, which means soldiers or settlement of soldiers, right? So garrison town, a fortified settlement with soldiers. Fortified is being made with word fort, walled. You can say walled. Okay, wall, W-A-L-L, wall. Okay, so a fortified settlement with soldiers. If there is a town, there is a city which is basically meant for living up of soldiers, or you can say where soldiers reside. Everywhere you can find soldiers. If you go at any nook and corner, you will find soldiers. You can name it as garrison town, where soldiers are living, where soldiers survive, where soldiers are given the facility to live in. Okay, so a fortified settlement with soldiers is known as garrison town, a fortified settlement. Always remember this term, fortified. The word fortified means walled, enclosed, a boundary enclosed, or an area enclosed. Okay, an area. Okay, where the soldiers find their settlement. Okay, so fortified settlement with soldiers is known as garrison town. Client and another term. Don't get it confused with the word client which we use in computers or in other language. Client. No, here the meaning will be different. Someone who is under the protection of another is known as client. Suppose if you are living under the protection of your parent is a client. Simple thing, right? That means someone who is under the protection of another. That means if you are are a client. Okay, the another word of that is a dependent. Okay, clear? Dependent is known as client. Here in history, in this chapter, the Delhi Sultans, these are the simple terms. Okay, client, someone who is under the protection of another. If you are under the protection of your parents, you are a client. Clear? So a dependent, another word is a dependent. This is one meaning, this is another meaning. Okay, I mean to say either you can write this one or this one only, a dependent. That's it. Client means a dependent. Clear? Shall we proceed on? Yes. Now, as the chapter begins, the Delhi Sultans, here begins the story. Under the Tomars and Chauhans, that means under Tomars and Chauhans, Delhi became an important commercial center. Commercial center means center which produces goods, where selling and buying up of things takes place, right? Where exchange of things takes place. So that places are known as commercial center, right? So under the Tomars and Chauhans, these are the two dynasties here. Tomars and Chauhans. So under the Tomars and Chauhans, Delhi became an important commercial center. The Delhi Sultans, that means the kings of Delhi, the monarch, okay, of Delhi built many cities in the area that we now know as Delhi. So these sultans built many cities in the areas which we now know as Delhi. Okay, these sultans, kings, whoever is present over there, okay, they built many cities in that area which we now know as Delhi. That means these kings, if we remove Delhi, some of the kings, some of the sultans used to build, or they built many cities in that area which we now know as Delhi. Okay, so they built many cities over there in Delhi. Okay, clear? Now this is a table which is given. Okay, this is a table which is given in your book, page number 31 it is. You should see to it. You don't have to remember all these things, but who were the kings and under which dynasty, under which kingdom they ruled over Delhi and in which period it is being given. See, for example, Rajput dynasties. Okay, under Rajput dynasty, Tomars. Okay, Tomars used to came, and Tomars, who were the kings under the Tomars? Anandpal, Chauhans, Prithviraj Chauhan. These are some of the kings. Anandpal ruled in 1130 to 1145. Then Prithviraj Chauhan ruled in 1175 to 1192. So the period has been given. From which period to which period? Which dynasty has ruled? Which king has ruled? Okay, so go through this page once. It is very important page here. Okay, now early Turkish ruler from 1206 to 1290, in which Qutbuddin Aybak, the very famous ruler Qutbuddin Aybak. Why he is famous, Qutbuddin Aybak? Because he started the building of Qutub Minar. Yes. And Shamsuddin Iltutmish. Why his name is famous, Iltutmish? Because number one thing, he finished the building of Qutub Minar. He has started the building of Qutub Minar, Qutbuddin Aybak. But Shamsuddin Iltutmish finished the building of Qutub Minar, finished the construction of Qutub Minar. Now Sultan Rajia, she was the lady ruler over Delhi, first lady ruler over Delhi, 1236 to 1240 she ruled. Ghiyasuddin Balban, 1266 to 1287. In this way you can see under which dynasty which ruler has ruled, in which period he has ruled. Okay, so this page is very important. Go through it once. It is very important. Who was the first ruler? Anangapal. And who was the last ruler? Bahlul Lodi, who belongs to Lodi dynasty. So that's why I have put this page over here on the screen, because this page is very important as far as which ruler of Delhi. Here it is written the rulers of Delhi, right? So which ruler has ruled in which period, it has been given in this page. Clear? I don't think there will be any problems with that. You have to just remind who is the first ruler, who is the last ruler, and if there is some famous name whom you can know under Khalji dynasty, Jalaluddin Khalji ruled, Alauddin Khalji ruled, like that. You might be knowing some of the person earlier also, so you should read about them, why he is famous in history, right? Let's proceed on. Sources or finding out about the Delhi Sultans. What are the sources? How I am knowing that these things were there? He is the first ruler of Delhi. He is the last ruler of Delhi. From this period to this period he has ruled. How I am knowing? I haven't taken the birth at that time. There are sources. Time and again I am telling you this word. There are sources because of which we come to know about the knowledge that this thing has happened during that period. This thing has happened during this period and something like that. Isn't it? So what are the sources? What are the findings? Number one, coins. Something written over the coin. Coin depicts something, right? Inscriptions which were written in engraved form, right? Inscriptions. And architecture. Architecture also tells you many things. Suppose if you go to Taj Mahal and visit the Taj Mahal, many things were written over there which gives a lot of hint that which king has ruled, what he has done and something. Okay, so these are being collected and made as a part of history. Okay, coins, inscriptions and architecture are the sources of information on the Sultan of Delhi. If we are knowing about the Delhi Sultans, if we are knowing who were the Sultans who have ruled in Delhi, it was coins, it is inscription, it is architecture, it is manuscript and other sources because of which we are knowing about the rulers of Delhi or the Delhi Sultans. Tuarikh, it is very important here. Tuarikh written in Persian. Mind you, it is nothing but it is a language. What kind of language? It is a Persian language. Tuarikh. Tuarikh is a Persian language. Tuarikh is a language which is used during the reign of Delhi Sultans. Okay? The language of administration under Delhi Sultans. It is the language of administration. It is the language which is being used during the reign of Delhi Sultans. What is the language? Tuarikh. And in which language it is written? It is written in Persian. Okay, clear? Tuarikh written in Persian, the language of administration under Delhi Sultans. Okay, the authors of Tuarikh were learned men. Learned man means very knowledgeable men. Okay, so who were the authors of Tuarikh? Tuarikh is a language, okay, which is Persian language particularly, and the language of administration under Delhi Sultans. That means it is a language which is written in Persian, okay, and it is the language during the administration of Delhi Sultans. Clear? Now, who were the authors of Tuarikh? Who were writing the Tuarikh? They were learned men, knowledgeable people like secretaries, administrators, poets and courtiers. These were the people, mind you. Okay, the authors of Tuarikh were learned people like secretaries, administrators, poets, courtiers. These were the people who were writing up the Tuarikh. Clear? Note it down. These all are important points here. Tuarikh, which was a language which was written in Persian, so it was under the administration of Delhi Sultans. And who were the people who were writing the Tuarikh? These were administrators, secretaries, courtiers, poets. These were the people who were writing the Tuarikh. The authors of Tuarikh lived in cities. Moreover, these authors, these learned people, these knowledgeable people who used to live in who were secretaries, administrators and all these people, where they were living? They were not living in villages, they were living in cities. And okay, they often wrote, often means usually, generally, they wrote their histories for sultans in the hope of rich rewards, cash, okay. So it is very important to know that authors of Tuarikh, those who were writing the Tuarikh, they were writing in the for the histories of sultans. They were not writing anything for common people or general people. They were writing the histories of sultan to get rewards in the form of cash, okay. So they were very much interested in making the histories for sultans, right? Why they were interested? In a hope of getting rich rewards or good rewards. Sultan have the capability of giving them the rewards. So they were writing the Tuarikh in praise of sultan or the histories of sultans, okay. So they, and as a result they are getting rich rewards. Clear? I don't think there will be any problem with these sources and about the Delhi sultans, right? Let's move on. In 1236, mind you, why I am telling you, why I am taking you to this period? Because Sultan Iltutmish's daughter, Sultan Iltutmish, who has finished Qutub Minar, his daughter, who was his daughter? Razia Sultan. She became Sultan. Why she became Sultan in that period, during that era? As she was more able or capable than all her brothers. Okay, she was very much capable. She was more learned. She knows too much. She is having too much abilities than in comparison to all her brothers. That's why she was being made the Sultan of Delhi. But nobles were not happy at her attempts to rule independently. Nobles were not happy with that. How a woman can rule over a city, or in a city like Delhi? It's a matter of pride for men, not for women, and something they have told. So she was removed from the throne in the year 1240. That is from 1236 to 1240 she ruled. But in 1240 she was removed by the nobles, thinking that it's a matter of great pride for the men to rule over Delhi, not the matter of pride for the women, mind you. Now the expansion of Delhi Sultanate, expansion, growing up, expansion, that means getting larger and larger, okay. Delhi's authority was also challenged by Mongol invasions from Afghanistan. Time and again these Mongols attacked Delhi, okay. These Mongols, who were generally residents of Afghanistan, mind you, okay. If you look into the map, you know where is Afghanistan. Yes. So these Mongol, these people, time and again challenged the authority of Delhi. They were challenging, they were fighting war with these people, with the Delhi's authorities. Time and again they challenge, they come in quarrel or they fought against the Delhi sultans, okay. The Sultanate consolidated. Consolidated means united, remain union. The Sultanate consolidated during the reign of Ghiyasuddin Balban. Mind you, this was the ruler Ghiyasuddin Balban, under which the Sultanate or the Delhi Sultan become powerful, okay, consolidated or became united and expanded under Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq. So these are the rulers under which this Delhi Sultan, Delhi kingdom becomes powerful and expanding themselves. Under Ghiyasuddin Balban, under Alauddin Khalji and under Muhammad Tughlaq. These were powerful rulers of Delhi, okay. So they have expanded the empire. Consolidation under Khaljis and Tughlaqs. So these were the two dynasties under which consolidation, union and strongness came, okay, firmness. The Khalji and Tughlaq monarchs, kings, appointed military commanders as governors of territories of varying sizes, which were called Iqtas, and their holders is called Iqtadar or Mukti. Mind you, if the question will be asked, what do you mean by the term Iqtas? Who were Iqtadars or what were Mukti? This answer you have to write. The Khalji and Tughlaq kings, okay, Khalji and Tughlaq kings appointed military commanders. They appoint military commanders like Senapati and something like that. So these kingdoms, these kings, Khalji kings, Tughlaq kings used to take military commanders as the governor of territory. That means you can govern over the territory, over the land of varying sizes, of different sizes, which were called iqtas. Iqtas were lands of different sizes being governed by military commanders. Clear? Iqtas, lands of different sizes governed by military commanders, and they were kept by Khaljis and Tughlaqs. Okay? So they were iqtas, and they are holder. If I am holder of iqta, I am iqtadar. Iqtadar you can say, or another name for iqtadar is mukti. Clear? I think it is very clear. Okay, the land of different sizes governed by military commanders, okay, who were appointed by Khaljis and Tughlaqs. So they were called iqtas. Okay, lands of different sizes. Lands were called iqtas, and their holder is called iqtadar or mukti. Okay, large parts of subcontinent remained outside the control of Delhi sultans. Now they were ruling over the Delhi. So if they have another kingdom also to control, it becomes very difficult. It was difficult to control distant province. Distant means far off, far areas, like Bengal from Delhi. Suppose if you are in Delhi and if you have to control Bengal, obviously it's a common sense, it becomes very difficult for you to control Bengal also and Delhi also. If you are in Delhi, either you can control Delhi or Bengal at one time. That's why they used to take these military commanders, so that they can send them to Bengal and make them to rule over there. Till then I am going to rule over Delhi. Suppose if I have to control Delhi and Bengal, then I will take a military commander, I will send them to Bengal, I will tell him to rule over there, govern over there, so that I can take care of the Delhi. Okay, clear? So it was difficult to control distant provinces, far provinces from one place, so they used to take military commanders. Local chieftains established their rule in these regions. Moreover, local chieftains were also establishing their local chieftains. Sometimes local local chief come into being, and they start taking care of these kingdoms. Okay. Mongols under Genghis Khan. This is also an important ruler. The Mongols, mind you, under the Genghis Khan invaded tracts of Siena in northeast Iran in 1219. That means these Mongols came to Iran under whose leadership? Under Genghis Khan. In which year? In 1219. And Mongol attack on Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khalji and in early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. Okay, Mongol attack on Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and in early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. So during Muhammad Tughlaq's rule and under the reign of Alauddin Khilji, these Mongols attack getting increased, or they were attacking time and again. Okay, clear? Now rest of the part I am going to discuss later on. Okay, in my next class. Till then you note down your homework. Define birthright, gender distinction and hinterland. These three terms you have to define: birthright, gender distinction and hinterland. Second question is what are iqtas? Third question is what is tawarik? Okay, what is tawarik or what is tawarik? Note it down fast, dear candidates, dear students. Note it fast. Have you noted it down? Yes. So take care of your studies, take care of your parents also at the same time, because still the condition is not under control. I don't know what is going to happen next, but we will continue with the online classes only. So take care of your online classes. If you have any problem connecting with the online classes, you can contact Mahendra sir or some other person also in the IT. Okay, till then, till further moment or by next moment when we are going to meet, till then goodbye. Okay, have a nice day.